Your side hustle isn't working, and it probably has very little to do with how hard you're trying. Nobody wants to hear this, but let's be honest. Something that isn't growing and making money is not a business, it's a hobby. These days, it seems like everybody wants to call themselves an entrepreneur, right? People want freedom, flexibility, passive income, and the ability to work from a laptop while posting reels on social media. But desiring the lifestyle of entrepreneurship and actually doing the hard work to build a business from scratch are two completely different things. In this video, I'll walk through the biggest reasons most side hustles struggle and give you 3 specific things you need to change right now if you wanted to become something sustainable, something scalable, and something truly capable of changing your financial future. Businesses don't grow just because the founder's passionate. Businesses grow because they solve big problems for a large group of people. And unless and until your side hustle does that, it's never going to become a truly self-sustaining business, no matter how many hours you pour into it. That may sound kind of harsh, but after more than 4 decades as a serial entrepreneur and founding 10 separate businesses in 2 different industries, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The marketplace rewards value, not enthusiasm. Welcome back to Lessons from the Arena. This channel is about real lessons learned the hard way from decades of actually building businesses and not sitting on the sidelines talking theory. My goal with this channel is to help serious people avoid expensive mistakes and build stronger businesses and think more clearly about what true success requires. So if that sounds interesting, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's get into it. One of the biggest lies in today's everybody needs to be an entrepreneur culture is the idea that if you simply follow your passion, success will follow. Don't get me wrong, passion does matter, but passion alone will never create demand for your product. And without strong demand and paying customers, you really don't have a business. That's the disconnect destroying most side hustles right now. The classic mistake people make is building businesses around their own interests instead of what the market actually needs. They start with themselves instead of the marketplace. What do I enjoy? What fits my lifestyle? What sounds exciting to me? But true entrepreneurs think differently. They look at the marketplace first, asking where the friction is in the transaction. What are the pain points that need to be solved? What inefficiencies are costing people money, time, energy, or opportunity? Are people willing to pay to solve those problems? And most importantly, does the opportunity have longevity? We saw a lot of this in our local market a few years ago with short-term rentals, commonly referred to as STRs. Early investors did make money for a while because there generally weren't enough hotel rooms around town. But eventually the market became overcrowded, property prices exploded, restrictions increased, and hotel construction flooded the market with new inventory. The profits disappeared almost overnight. Yet people kept piling into the concept because they were emotionally attached to the idea of owning an STR instead of objectively evaluating whether the long-term opportunity still existed. And that's the danger of building around hype instead of solving enduring problems. Yet this is how real businesses are built, not from aesthetics or social media validation, from solving problems. Real problems. And the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. Here's one of the most important business lessons I have ever learned. Small problems create small businesses. Large problems create scalable, profitable businesses. If your side hustle solves a small inconvenience for a handful of people, it may generate some extra income. Fine. But if your goal is to build something sustainable, something capable of growth, creating wealth, and surviving long term, then your business must solve a significant problem for a significant number of people. That's the difference between a hobby and a real enterprise. Social media has made this problem radically worse because it's tied entrepreneurship to identity. People increasingly want the image of entrepreneurship rather than the reality of building a business. They want the perceived freedom, the idea of a flexible lifestyle, and the admiration that comes from appearing successful online. But the marketplace doesn't reward identity, it rewards value, and creating value is damn hard work. The customer's not paying you to validate your dreams. They're paying you to remove their pain, their frustration, their confusion, inefficiency, delay, or risk from their life or their business. And the moment you fully understand and embrace that is the moment your thinking about business completely changes. You stop asking, what do I want to sell? And start asking, what is the big problem that desperately needs solving? And frankly, I think a lot of potential entrepreneurs have been grossly misled into believing entrepreneurship is mostly about freedom. It's not. If anything, it often means less freedom, especially in the beginning. Successful entrepreneurship usually demands far more sacrifice, accountability, uncertainty, and emotional resilience than most traditional jobs ever will. I also believe some people pursue entrepreneurship not because they truly want to build something meaningful, but because they want escape. They want out of structures they dislike, jobs they're emotionally checked out of, routines they resent, difficult managers, or environments where accountability is unavoidable. They are running from something, not running toward something. But let's be clear. When you own the business, there's nowhere to hide. The pressure lands on you. The responsibility lands on you. The consequences land on you. And that's why so many side hustles begin with great excitement, but collapse when the hard reality shows up. Your side hustle is failing because the market is asking one simple question you've not yet adequately answered. That is, why should this business exist? And if the answer is only because you're passionate about it, then you've got some hard thinking to do, buddy. Meanwhile, somebody else identifies a painful, expensive issue affecting millions of people and creates enormous value very quickly. Why is that? Because they developed a solution to solve a pain point. Usefulness creates value, and value is what scales. Many people build their side hustles backwards. They focus on branding before value. They focus on image before utility. They focus on social media before market validation. Then they wonder why the revenue never arrives. Here's the hard truth every entrepreneur eventually learns. Revenue is the validation, not the compliments, not the likes, not the followers, not friends telling you your idea is awesome. Customers repeatedly paying you for what you do. That's the validation. And if the market's not responding, becoming emotional about it won't fix anything. You have to become analytical. You have to ask whether the problem is actually big enough, whether the audience is actually large enough, whether the solution is clear enough, and whether enough value is being created for people to consistently pay you. And these are business questions. And avoiding them is why most side hustles are failing. So with all that said, let's talk about solutions. If your side hustle isn't growing, the first thing I challenge you to do is stop building around passion alone and start building around problems. Some of the most successful founders in America built companies in industries they never originally cared about. They weren't emotionally passionate about printing companies, real estate companies, staffing, logistics, or distribution. What they eventually became passionate about was the opportunity they discovered living inside of problems in those industries. The second thing is this: find bigger problems to solve for a wider audience. If your side hustle only solves a tiny inconvenience for a tiny audience, it will remain tiny. But when businesses solve expensive, recurring, emotionally frustrating, time-consuming problems for large groups of people, scale becomes possible. Growth still requires strong execution and discipline, but solving meaningful problems creates momentum because the market itself begins pulling the business forward. And this is completely different than constantly trying to force a weak idea uphill through sheer effort. And finally, validate demand before romanticizing the business. Too many people spend months designing logos, building websites, choosing brand colors, creating content, buying equipment, and talking endlessly about the vision before they ever proven the market actually wants what they're selling. That's dangerous, very dangerous, because effort doesn't automatically equal value. And just because something is difficult to build does not mean the marketplace wants it. That's another brutal truth entrepreneurship eventually teaches everyone. The market decides the value, not the founder. And the faster you accept these realities, the faster your decision-making improves and the more possible it becomes to turn a failing side hustle into a viable, sustainable business. Look, I know this message is more direct than what people hear online, but I believe honesty serves people better than empty motivation because false encouragement keeps people trapped while real clarity creates change. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a side hustle. In fact, many great businesses begin that way. But if your goal is to build something real, something sustainable, something capable of changing your financial future, then eventually your business must become bigger than your personal interests. That's when side hustles become real companies. That's when businesses become self-sustaining. At the end of the day, the market doesn't care how passionate you are. It cares whether you make people's lives better. So if your side hustle isn't growing, the answer may not be to work harder. The answer is to find a bigger problem to solve. If this message hits home, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. And let's not keep this channel a secret. Please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like to go deeper into lessons learned through decades of wins and losses and leadership battles, mistakes, and hard-earned experience from a serial entrepreneur, check out my book, Failing My Way to Success. You can learn more by hitting the QR code or visit phillipcantrell.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.